Okay, hi, and welcome back to the series. Today I'm going to handle some of the more complicated logging in, authenticating. We're going to be doing Firebase too, so that's going to be a pretty huge chunk of functionality. So let's go ahead and start a new Firebase project. You can do this on console.firebase.google.com. As you see, I've got some random projects in here already. Let's go ahead and make a new one. And this is going to be similar to what I already have. So I'm just going to call this React character sheet 5e. Alright. I don't think we need Google Analytics, but I guess it won't hurt. Just go ahead and make your account. It's going to take a minute to create our project. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and open our text editor. So we've got a lot to basically add in this episode, and I'll just go ahead and start on some of those things now. So we want to have some buttons first. So in our components, let's make a folder called buttons. And let's go ahead and add in a couple new files. Let's do a login button. And you don't have to make these all separate components. You can do it on the actual thing itself. I just find it easier to break everything up, just so we know where everything is. And these are dispatching events as well, so it helps to have them bound in Redux. Let's do the logout button. There's going to be a register button as well. We're also going to have like load and saving our characters, or rather new characters in. So new character button. Yes, and then there's going to be a save character button. Okay. Another thing we're going to need to do is we're going to have to import some stuff pertaining to it's pertaining to Firebase into our npm project. So I believe those can, let me get the list of those things and we'll just go ahead and pull those in. And I believe that will be alright, so first we're going to need a Firebase RC. This one actually might get generated when we run some Firebase configs, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it. So .firebase RC. This is going to point to which project we're doing, so let's do projects. And then we have it point to default. And just give it the same name that we're using on this web app. So this one, I believe. Whoa. Just copy that, paste that. It might need dashes in it. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so we're going to have to set up an authentication method. We're going to do email password. Probably not the email link. So let's go ahead and just have that enabled. Let's take a look at this. Okay, that's fine. So save. We don't want Facebook. Okay. So it's actually going to be this domain. So let's grab this. Ooh, well, that was weird. Okay. So we've got our Firebase IRC. We'll also want a Firebase.json. And then for that, we're going to have a couple things pointing to our database. And then we're going to have a Firestore. And we're going to have function and storage, which we might not use yet, but it's okay. And then storage. So the storage rules are going to go into storage.rules. Functions are going to have this pre-deploy. And then, oops, it's an array. Sources directory, and then run that. We might not need to use this yet. So Firestore rules, it's going to be and then we're going to have indexes at firestore.indexes. And then for the database, I have rules. Okay. So done. Let's go ahead and put in our Authentication and Reducer. So in your source.js reducers, I'm going to have a new file. Okay, call it the auth reducer. And then let's go ahead and put in some of our new actions as well. So we're going to import these actions, but we'll go ahead and declare them in the actions next. So these are going to be sign up, success, sign up, error, login error, login success, and then logout success. Okay. And this is going to go in. Okay. Const initial state is going to equal no auth errors. Okay, and then we're going to declare the auth reducer. State equals initial state, and then action. Okay, do switch action type. And then the default is going to return the state. Alright, so we're going to have to do switch statements for each of the these cases. So let's go ahead and get those started. Let's just do this, and then oops. So for this state, for the login, oops, let's see the login error first. We're just going to say return dot 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 state, and then it's going to have the authentication error. So what that will look like is us putting an auth error in there. So actually have this spelled wrong. And it's going to say auth error login failed. Okay. So for the success, let's just do the same thing and then call it login succeeded. Although I don't know if we have to do, let's do login success. Auth error actually should be null, so we don't want to have any error in that if the error is a success. So let's go ahead and do that. For the sign up error, we're actually going to retrieve a message from Firebase for this. So for the sign up error, we're going to get, instead of just login failed, let's return a action.error.message. Okay. And then for the login success, or sign up success rather, we're going to also return auth error null. Okay, and then the logout success, we can just actually return nothing, so return state rather, because we don't really need to push a message, we don't need to do anything, we just need that action to happen. Okay, so should be good. Let's go ahead and export. Okay, that should be done. Now what we'll need to do is do our actions. So let me go ahead and pull those up. So these are going to be the, let's go ahead and do it in our actions. Types, call these auth actions, and then it's going to be these ones here. So oops, and the auth reducer, boom. Let's grab these, let's do that, let's do I wonder if I can just do this multi-line and then paste. Okay, and then let's just copy this. Gonna do our multi-line. Awesome. So now we'll just have to declare those in the actions. So let's go ahead and make auth actions. That is not existing yet, so let's go ahead, new file, auth actions.js. So these ones are going to be a little complicated because we're using going to be using Redux, Firestore, as well as Thunk in some of these, I believe. So let's find out how we do this. So let me go ahead and into our character sheet, let's add Redux Firestore. Save Redux Firestore. I believe we'll also need some other, let's do, okay, we'll need Firebase, I think, just regular old Firebase. Let me just double check while this is installing what we need for sure. So, Redux Firebase, Redux Firestore, Firebase, and we will need, okay, there we go. Did I get Redux Firestore yet? I did, okay, so we got those. Alright, so now let's go into our auth actions. And let's go ahead and these are going to be a little bit confusing at first. So I'm going to import some new stuff. So there's going to be basically some thunks that we're putting in. So let's just go ahead and put those in. We might not use them right now, but get characters thunk, and then get characters. This is going to be a list of basically our actions for getting characters. We haven't made this yet, but it's going to be a new file called get character list actions. And then we're going to do import. We're going to want Redux Firestore. And then get Firestore. From Redux Firestore. Okay. So first let's get the login. So export const login, and that's going to take credentials, and it's going to return a dispatch. So it's return dispatch get state, and it's going to return an object called get Firebase. Okay, so basically Firebase is going to be from get Firebase. And then we're going to get the function sign in with email and password from Firebase's auth. So auth dot sign in with email and password. Okay, so that is going to be like an asynchronous, basically have a then afterwards, And then the then is not going to take any inputs, but it's going to do our loading of characters and stuff. So we're also going to do a catch statement as well. So it's going to catch any login errors. And then let's go return error. And that's going to basically dispatch a type login error. Oops. Okay. But anyway, this sign in with email and password is going to take two credentials. So credentials dot email. Oops. And then credentials dot password. And then basically we're gonna have the then statement. It's not gonna. This is eventually gonna have our loading all of our characters and stuff logic, but for now we're just gonna dispatch. It's gonna dispatch an action. Sorry, of type toggle login modal, which is gonna login. So this is gonna have all the information of our login success. But what we want to also do is dispatch a similar event that's toggle. That's gonna say login success. So it succeeds. It dispatches the message of, let's do login success. And then it will have our toggle login modal, which will just say, hey, you logged in, close the modal, we don't need it anymore. Okay, so we'll come back to this later. Let's go ahead and get characters thunk and get character. So I believe that's in the, let's go ahead and look over here. Character list actions, so source, JS actions, character list actions, okay. So let's make a new folder here, file here. Okay, so this is going to also be getting our list of stuff from the Firebase store. So let's go ahead and import thunk middleware from redux thunk. And then we'll go ahead and do import do create store and apply middleware from redux, and then let's do import auth. Oops. From redux firestore. Oh, sorry, this is in quotes. Okay. And then we want to import an action type, so it's just get characters. Okay, we'll have to also declare that. So let's go to action types. So I think that's just export. So basically in this file, we're going to be doing a thunk. So we're going to export that function, and it's going to be called get characters thunk. So basically, it's just a normal function, but we're going to return a dispatch. And it's going to say, here's our list of characters that we want to make. And that's similarly just going to be empty list. And then we're going to basically validate the authentication of the current user. So we'll say const UID equals Firebase auth. Firebase.auth current user question mark Firebase.auth current user UID. Otherwise it's going to be blank. So we'll say if UID is not blank, then we're going to bind the characters from that UID from the store. So how we're doing that is get Firestore, and then we're going to call collection, and this is going to be empty right now, but we'll put in some characters later as we build them. Characters, and we'll say .where, and then we'll set the owner ID, owner.uid, and then set an equivalence, and then say the UID that we've already assigned. And then we'll call get on that, which will get a collection, and then do a then. So then we'll take that collection, right? And do what's called query snapshot. And then that's going to be a function. And then that query snapshot, it's also going to delete those brackets. So that snapshot is going to do be a list, so a list of characters, and we're going to do for each. And then we'll call it document loading, so document, and then we'll just do characters dot push the document's data, and that's actually a function. Okay, then we will take that snapshot, that list of characters, and we'll dispatch it. And then we'll call get characters with that characters. Okay, So simple enough. I believe that's all we need for the thunk. Actually, also we need to get, we need to define this get characters because we don't have that defined yet. So let's do also export const get characters, and then that is going to be a list of characters. And what we're going to see from that is dispatching in action. Oops. So let's do a type. It's going to be get characters. And then, oops. That's not right. And then this is going to have a characters. It's just going to return it as the second part of that object. Okay, so that's a little confusing, but we'll see it work hopefully later. We might not touch this for a minute, but it's good that we have it finished because it'll be helpful to have that later. So we've got the auth actions. Let's go ahead and fill out some of our buttons. And basically what we'll have these do is dispatch some of our events for logging in, etc. I'll probably be reusing a lot of these too, so let's just make one, copy paste it, and see what we can get from the other. So it's going to have import React component. Oh, sorry, I did this wrong. React component. Actually, I think some of these imports get filled in as we use them, but I think we need to do the toggle login modal, which we already defined, I think, in last episode. From the UI actions. So let's do JS actions, UI actions. Okay. And then const map state to props equals state turn state. For this state, we're just going to do is open false, and that's just going to refer to our login modal. And then the dispatch is going to be toggle login modal. Awesome. So we have after that is the component itself. So do class login button extends component, and then we're going to have a constructor. Let me just grab this from something else. And we're going to have a render method. So const and then we'll do return and basically we are returning a div let's call it login button. And it's on the right side of the menu. And let's do a href. And let's call it a UI item. So that's just going to contain the message login. Pretty sure we can copy this for the logout button. It might not be as complicated, but let's just see what we can do. So let's call it logout button. This is just going to have a similar everything, kind of saying logout and then logout. So, but essentially the dispatch on this, instead of it's going to actually trigger a dispatch event. So let's just do equals dispatch. And then do an arrow function here. And instead of toggling the login modal, it's just going to return the logout. And that's going to dispatch logout. So logout we need to import to from the auth actions that we just defined. So okay. So I believe that looks correct. We actually don't need a map state to props on this since it doesn't have an open state. So that means we don't need this toggle login modal. Okay. So let's do our register button, which is going to look similar to our login button. So I'll just copy this again. Again, it's going to, Okay, so, but instead of toggling the login modal, it's going to toggle the register modal. Register modal. And then this is going to be register button. It's going to return the same is open is false. And then let's swap out this. Let's call this register button. And then call this register. And then this is going to be toggle register modal. Okay, so let me see if I have that in a logout button, which I don't need. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and circle back to our auth actions. We have this new character button. We don't need that yet. Save character. We also probably won't need that yet. So let's go ahead and do our auth actions again and see what we're missing on here. So we have login, but we don't have logout currently. So let's go ahead and add that. And then we'll want to add a register action as well. So we'll do register. And that's going to take in a new user object. And it's going to return a dispatch similar to this. Let's just copy this. Get Firebase, only it's going to also use the get Firestore, I think. We're going to do const Firebase equals get Firebase. We'll do const Firestore equals get Firestore. Sorry. And then we'll do this same thing with this auth, except for let's just copy paste this for now, but we're going to change the, instead of sign in with email and password, we're going to create user. Okay, it's going to take the new user, so let's go ahead and highlight these. And then it's going to return, let's see, so Firebase, then it's going to take this senior response. We will want to set the Firestore collection username to that user's username. So that's a little bit tricky, but we'll do this return Firestore dot collection, and then we'll call it the users. And then we'll, oh sorry, it's lowercase, do basically the, oops, this is going to be a document with resp.user.uid, and then we're going to set that username to new users.username. Okay. Then we're going to send a dispatch of sign up success, and we'll toggle the register modal. Okay. Actually, this since this is returning already, we're going to do another then statement here. So instead of the dispatch going in an unreachable area here, we're going to do then. We're not taking any parameters. We just want it to perform some actions. So that's where these dispatches will go. Okay. So that's all set. Looks like we have login and registers, routes done. Now we just have to basically do logout. That's our last action that we have to account for. So let's go ahead and do that. And that doesn't need to take in any parameters. It's just going to do a simple one of these dispatches. So we also probably don't need the Firestore for that, since it's just going to send an action. We'll still need const Firebase, get Firebase. And then we'll basically call Firebase.auth.signout. And then we'll do a then. Sorry. Oops. We'll dispatch an action. Of type logout success. Okay. I believe that's all we need to do in the auth actions. So I'll go ahead and close out of that for now. So what we'll do now is we'll create the login modals. So those belong in a new folder. So we have components. Let's make a new folder called modals. And we're going to have a login modal and a register modal. Okay, so these are going to have like the backdrop a little bit. These are going to actually have some handlers in them. So let's do the register modal first. It's going to be kind of complicated. So let's go ahead and do it's just some import statements. I'll probably grab those from another component. Or let's just start, let's just start on the component itself so that we can hopefully grab those. So this is going to have a state of email, password, and username. And it's going to have a change handler, so change is going to be represented as e in this. We're going to have this dot set state. These are not going to go in the Redux store, so we're just going to have all the handlers and everything built onto this modal itself. So e set state, we're going to do e.targetID, and then we'll do e.target.value. Okay. And then we're going to have a handle submit. So we're just going to do e And then we'll have to do e.prevent default so we don't actually submit a form. And then we'll say this dot props dot register, and then we'll send in this dot state to the registers state. Okay, so in our render method now, we'll need to handle some props in here. Let's just do const declare auth error and auth to equal this dot state, or sorry, this dot props. And then we'll say basically we have an if condition which says if it's not this dot props dot show register modal, then we'll return null, and then row. That's not what I wanted. Turn. Basically, we'll have a div with the inputs. So let's go ahead and make that really quick because we're going to need a form. So let's put the backdrop in there first. Oops. And then we'll need a div class name register modal. Give it a type of modal too. Let's give it a header. Call it register, and then we'll have a form. So, and then on submit of a form, we'll do this dot handle submit. And then we'll basically have some input fields. I'll probably go back in and style these fields more later, but for now, let's just have, actually, let's go ahead and just pull these from existing forms. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to go to GitHub, get these forms. It's just going to be some HTML inputs with some classes already applied to them and some fields, and the handlers already put on them. So basically going to save some time here. Sorry, this is on my profile somewhere. Here we go. So source components, and this is in the modals register modal. So I'm just going to grab all this stuff in the form because there's already field classes applied to them. Just for the sake of time, you can go back in and look at what these are. I also have a form at the bottom of the form. There's something with this auth error, and it's in basically something that says if there's an auth error, let's display this error message, and it'll say either action forbidden, but it'll also display the auth error that comes back from that action that we created before. And then the on change for all these inputs is just the handle change method that we described up here, which sets it to that whatever value you have inputted. So this is like a sign me up button, and it's like a oops, I didn't mean to click this. You could just be a cancel button if you wanted it. And I either click on either of those. This does the this.props.register, and this does this.props.toggle register modal, which will just close it. So I believe we still need to add in some requirements and some, let's just copy these in here. So the dispatch and the map state to props are going to be pretty important. I'll just grab all these requirements as well and show you. So the dispatch to props is going to be having register and toggle register modal from the auth actions and from the UI actions. We'll also want to basically have the map state to props be the showing whether the register's modal is shown, whether there is an auth error, and whether there is the auth object. It's going to return the state Firebase auth. So this looks good. I'm going to actually export the connect. And then I'm going to do map state to props, comma, map dispatch to props, and then do our register modal. Okay, so I'm going to do a similar thing with the login modal. I'm just probably going to copy it again just for the sake of brevity. If you have any specific questions about the login modal, how it works, it's basically the same thing. So I won't stretch out this video any longer than it has to be. I know these videos are kind of long. If you need to see the code, it's going to be in the GitHub. So let's just go ahead and put this in there. So that's all ready to go. Okay, so we've got the buttons for logging in and registering. We've gotten the modals. I think we still need our Firebase configuration. We've also gotten our auth reducer and the auth actions all ready to go. So what's left, it looks like, is basically testing it out and making sure it's linked to the proper Firebase section. So let's see how we do this. I might have to also cross-reference my other Firebase application just so I know how I had it set up on mine. And I'll go ahead and run through this with you. There's usually a Firebase setup that you have to do, but since we copied all of this config, then we might not have to do that. So looks like we've already gotten that stuff in. Let's go ahead and do an npm start, see if we run into any issues. Resolve URL loader. This was an issue before. I believe we just took it out of the webpack config. I'm not sure why we have it in here to begin with, but it should be fine now. Okay, so let's go to localhost. Alright, so our app's running. We still have to implement our login buttons into our header. So let's go back to our header. And let's, I believe that was, let's go check out how we put that in real quick. Header. Okay, so we're going to import register button. We're going to import login button from button slash login button. We're probably also going to do the logout button since that also belongs in this bar. Okay, so essentially what we want to do is we want to bind the auth to the state dot firebase dot auth, which is going to cause us some errors right now because we don't have that all configured. And then we want to basically have these links here. So let's just call this button 1 and button 2. So basically button 1 is going to go down here. So let's do const button 1 is equal to, it's either going to be, depending on the auth.uid, if there's no auth.uid, it's going to return null. If there is an auth.uid, it's going to return null. If there isn't, it's going to return the login button. Okay. Similar with button 2, it's we're going to include either a logout button or a register button. So I believe we're going to start looking into why we don't have Firebase in here. So, okay, toggle login modal is not defined. That's in register button. Toggle register. Let's check our UI actions. So in our register button, we're still referencing the login modal, so it should be register modal. Okay, that's easy enough. Map state to props is not defined on our logout button. I believe that one uses let's see. So the dispatch to props, or sorry, the map state to props does not exist on here. So let's make that map state to props. Actually, we might not need that. We don't need that since this doesn't have a state. Probably don't need the constructor on here either, but it's okay. Property auth is not defined. Okay, so this I think belongs in our root reducer. And basically what that means is there's no auth set. So there's the auth reducer, right? But we don't have it logged in our root reducer. So I think it's just auth equals auth reducer. And we're going to want to import our auth reducer. Okay. Initial state is not defined in our auth reducer. Well, here it is. I just spelled it wrong. Cool. Cannot read property auth of undefined function map state to props in header.js. So this is a problem of, I think, the Firebase state not being bound, and basically what we want to, I think, do is include this Firebase in our ready function for our window. So that's going to go in our index.js. So within the layouts, we have this provider store. This looks fine. Basically, on the instead of this React DOM.render, we're going to actually do a store, and then we're going to say, hey, wait for the Firebase to be ready. Firebase, oops, auth is ready, and then we're going to do a then. Just basically, then we're going to render the element after we got a message back from our Firebase. So we still don't have a Firebase hooked up, so getting a lot of errors. Let's see. We will need to import some of our Firebase stuff. App. So let's see if this, so we're still getting a failure to build. This is not correct. So then it's undefined in index.js. So it might not know where this Firebase auth is ready is coming from. So I think we need to basically add in our Firebase stuff. So let's just see how we have this set up. So templates. Okay. I believe we'll have to go into our project overview, and we might need to see our web stuff. So for the app name, I think we already have that set up. Let's just call it this. Okay. So then in this Firebase config, I think we'll just grab this stuff, and then I believe it is in, let's check it out. So so we need to create a Firebase.json. Oh no, actually we already have that. Let me open this up in a browser and just take a look. So Okay, so I think we put this in basically not the index.js, but let me try something else. So there's a Firebase.json, and then there's a Firebase RC, and I think I'm missing one more file, which is the Firestore rules. So and the database rules. Okay, so let's go ahead and add those. And then the Firestore indexes as well. We might not need that though. So there's the Firestore rules. And that's just gonna have the rules for reading and writing. From our database. So basically it allows you to read if your request's auth ID matches the resources data's owner ID. Just some permission stuff. Don't know if we need the indexes. And then I think we have the storage rules too, but we're not using storage, so I don't know if we need that. But it just looks like this. Okay. Let's see if that helps our case at all. Okay. Still getting a problem on the Firebase auth is ready. So basically what we forgot is our Firebase config. So we want to put that in our JS, and let's add a new folder called Firebase, and then let's add a new file called config. Then import Firebase from -Firebase. And then we're going to make that config object, basically that list of parameters that we had on our Firebase. So var config equals, and that's just going to be this stuff. So all this, and then we're going to export default config. Okay. See if this changes anything. I guess it's we're still missing an import in the index.js, so I'm just going to make sure we're doing that. Or perhaps it's in the store itself. So let's look at the store. So store, yeah, we're missing a bunch of stuff in here. So what we want to do is actually import a thunk. So redux thunk, and then we're going to import Firebase from Firebase. Then we're going to also import, we already have create store, so we're going to import some apply middleware, and we're going to import compose. And then we're going to also get some of the Firestore stuff, so we're going to import redux Firestore, and we're going to get Firestore from redux Firestore. And then we're also going to import React redux Firebase, and then we're going to get Firebase from React redux Firebase. I actually don't know if I have that dependency installed, but we'll find out soon. So we're going to make basically a config file. So call it const, I call rrf config, and that's going to do attach auth is ready, true. It's going to do user profiles, users, and then enable logging true. And then we're going to pass another thing called use Firestore for profile. And call that true. So we're going to call Firebase init .init. Oh, sorry, initialize app. Yep, with our config. And this config we're actually going to pull in from our Firebase config that we just created. So we're going to import config from Firebase/config. Okay, and then in the store, instead of just creating store, we're also going to do a compose. And that's going to do an applying a middleware, which is thunk dot with extra argument. And that extra argument is going to be get redux, sorry, get Firebase and get Firestore. Oops. And then we're going to do also compose it with the redux Firestore with Firebase. And then we're also going to do React redux Firebase with Firebase and with our RR config. Okay, so that's all good, except I spelled this wrong, so let's make that right. Oops, there we go. So let's hopefully refresh this. We might be getting some success, maybe not. Again, I forgot to do that React Redux Firebase. And I actually might have to hop off here in just a second because I got a work call. Someone's asking me some questions at work. So I'll go ahead and do npm start. And let's take a look at this, if this works. We'll probably have to refresh. Object is not a function. Huh. Not sure what's going on there. I'll go ahead and continue this on the next video. Sign off for now. We got a lot of work done actually, even though you can't see the results of it yet. We'll do some more debugging and we'll figure out what's going on with this in the next episode. So again, thank you for watching. Let's hopefully wrap this up and we'll have our authentication service and we'll be able to start saving our files, our database stuff in this Firebase data store. So we'll probably be using, not this database, we're probably using the Cloud Firestore. We might have to just create one. So that might be why we're not getting the right results from this thing. I'll just make sure that I've got the configs right and that this is all wired correctly before the next video, and we'll get this figured out. Alright, again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and drop the commit. I'll go ahead and commit all this stuff I've done now into the repo and hopefully have that available to you guys. Again, if you have any questions, please leave a comment, and thanks for watching.